Hello everyone, Fertility Journals here. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. I decided to start this YouTube channel as a way to share my infertility experience because when I was undergoing my own journey, I received a lot of motivation from others on YouTube. And so I just thought that I would also give back to this space. And every Tuesday I do upload a video vlog of my journey. And so hopefully you can stay tuned. Today, I'm gonna talk about a topic that some of you might consider awkward or odd, or some of you might even be like, oh my goodness, maybe there's something to it, but it's all about the law of attraction and IVF. And I just thought, maybe I could share that in this space because it did something for me when I was undergoing my cycles in terms of motivating me to move forward. One of the first lessons from the law of attraction that really came to heart was the quote that said, what you think about, you bring about. What you think about becomes your belief becomes the perception by which you view life, and this perception in turn creates your life experience. And so just ruminating in that quote, it challenged me to really think about ways that I could try to make this traumatic experience. It was traumatic for me because I underwent a lot of failure before success, into something more enjoyable, because it was getting to a place where IVF was starting to ruin my relationships. It was starting to make me depressed, and it almost felt like I was in a war and I just had PTSD. And so I really needed to find some encouragement, motivation, and hope. And that quote from the law of attraction was a propelling factor in challenging me to look at my life differently and treat this situation differently. The other tip from law of attraction that really resonated with me was this whole conversation about thoughts being units of energy that can end up dictating your life experience. That challenge of living life on the affirmative so that your energy around you could be different. And it was actually true because the moment my thinking changed, so at first my thinking was always, my IVF cycle has failed. And then when I started using the law of attraction quotes, I started to relanguage it differently. So it became more about what can I learn from this cycle as we move on to the next? Or I started reminding myself, well, for my diagnosis, I need multiple cycles. I'm not going to be one of those people where 1, 2, or 3, or 4 cycles are going to work, right? So it was interesting because my thinking started to change. And when my thinking changed, I was able to then persevere and move on and see through the plan that we had in terms of our IVF cycle. Another tip by the law of attraction that was helpful for me that could also be helpful for you is this, is we shape our destiny by the attitude we have. We shape our destiny by the attitude we have. And I think the reason this came into heart is because, again, my attitude was different. When I went through failure, I just was like, well, the next cycle is gonna fail too. And I started being fearful of the cycle. It was as if these cycles were controlling my life instead of me controlling them, because it is my journey. And these are cycles that are happening to my body and I needed to take charge. And it was very difficult because they were taking control of me and I started having fear. And so I wanted to really take control back. And I think when I started to really challenge myself to reflect on the cycles, to do research and educating myself on what happened before moving into the next steps, it really changed my experience when it came through my IVF journey. Other tips about motivation, encouragement, law of attraction is a YouTube video that Larry Dossey did with Oprah Winfrey, who is one of the best life coaches out there. And in this interview with Oprah, Larry Dossey shared about the power of prayer. There was a group of women that were divided into two. And one group was prayed for by people in the United States, Canada, and Europe for their success through infertility. The other group was not. And what ended up happening was the group that was prayed for ended up having more success in their infertility journey. And I'll put a link to that video so you could watch it below. But it was really powerful because, guys, I was desperate. I was looking for anything that would motivate me through my journey. What I loved about the power of prayer, and Larry Dossey talking about the power of prayer and how the universe works, God works. It really motivated me to get prayer back into my life, which gave me peace, because then I knew that God was in control regardless of the fear, that God was whole, complete, and perfect through every loss and every measure of success, and I needed to trust in that even in my lowest moments. The other tip about the law of attraction is this whole idea of if you are living your life gloomy and morose, you radiate more of that into your experience. And this is so true. Because when I was going through the failures, I'm telling you, I hit every red light, I hit every mean person at the store, I hit, experienced people with, it was like, it just is never ending. It was like something negative, everything else tends to be negative, right? And I needed to shift it because I got really scared because, you think that you're cursed, right? Because, you look, everything is just bad news, right? But I decided to relanguage myself and try to be more positive, right? So instead of failure, it was, okay, this did not work. I need to find the reason why. And just by saying that, what would motivate me to wake up in the morning, to take a shower, put my clothes on, put a little bit of makeup on, get into the study and start doing research. It got my husband more involved in the process because then he got excited because he loves doing research with me. And we bonded over that. Then we would take a break and go out to eat lunch and I would get sunlight. So it's interesting how living your life with purpose and relanguaging things differently can really make a change. And so it did it for me, and I'll never forget that. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this video, because people always ask me, how did you go through 12 IVF cycles? It wasn't that I planned to do 12. It was just that, I looked at the data from my clinic, which was 1 out of 6, 1 out of 8 cycles to have a measure of success, not guaranteed, but roughly that was what women with my diagnosis, how they experience success at my clinic. And looking at that data and looking at a way to power through, those were the tips based on the law of attraction that were helpful for me as well. And another thing is, guys, I had a vision board. And I remember at first I was like, I'm not going to go to any baby shower. I don't want to run into anybody who had a child. The stuff we go through when we go through infertility. It seems like everybody's pregnant, right? But I challenged myself to create a vision board. And my vision board was on Pinterest. And I had like all these pictures of families. And I would look at them every day in addition to my meditation and prayer based on Larry Dossey about prayer being powerful. And now I look back and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So it is okay for you to go to the baby shower after you have had your boo-hoo haha. It is okay to surround yourself with what you want, with children, with the joy and laughter of your life. Do not let this control your life in a way that gets you into the shadows, because you'll then radiate more of that into your experience. The other quote that really helped me, this was from Oprah, most wonderful life coach of all. It is, when I went through my IVF failures, I would follow Oprah's quote, and I'll attach the video below because she does it better than I am going to say it. What are you here to teach me? What are you here to teach me? So almost facing that IVF failure and saying, what are you here to teach me? And sitting in that moment. And I remember Oprah said, when you do that, what it will do is it starts to mitigate that loss. So it starts to tackle it. You're in control now because you're asking this cycle what it is here to, what this failure is here to teach me, right? And then you start to gain more clarity because now you're trying to figure out what happened as opposed to wallowing in dismay. And seeking information. That's when you start doing research. That's when you start going on YouTube and hearing other people's stories and learning from them, instead of just, being gloomy and morose all the time. And it loosens it up a little bit. So then you get more motivation. You wake up in the morning instead of sleeping in all day because you got work to do. You got videos to watch, you got articles to read, and you got a phone call with your doctor to find out exactly what you need to do. And so it was interesting because just using that quote that Oprah said, relanguaging that experience by saying, IVF cancel, IVF failure, what are you here to teach me? Changed how I transitioned through the cycles. The last tip I'll share with you from Oprah Winfrey, I could talk about this all day, but I just wanted to share with you the highlights of the law of attraction, is Oprah's definition of failure. So Oprah's definition of failure is as follows. Failure is an opportunity for growth. Failure is information. And the moment I started looking at my IVF failures as information and an opportunity to grow, that's when I started really getting the power to move on, because I did enough research on it. I looked into that cycle enough to be able to strategize for the next one. And it gave me the motivation to move on with a positive mindset. Because of course I still have my boo-hoo ha-ha moments, but I knew that I had work to do. And I remember doing this when I had that disastrous IVF cycle. One of my cycles, guys, I was going to do a transfer. That was those days when I wanted to rush through things. And so it's very interesting because I froze a day 3 embryo. In our case, what was a day 3 embryo going to do for us? There was no information there. Anyway, we wanted to get it over and done with. So we froze a day 3 embryo from a previous cycle. And then we decided to do, my husband and I, a transfer of the frozen day 3 and a fresh 3-day transfer. Because honestly, at the time, the womb is the best place for the embryo to be in anyway. So if it was going to make it, return it to the womb anyway. So there was a reason to it, and I'm glad that we did it. But it ended up being a failure. The fresh transfer didn't work at all because the egg ran away, and the frozen embryo transfer ended up not working. So when I went home and did a pregnancy test, obviously it failed. But what was worse about that, so this was the lesson again, failure is information. It was just information. What I learned, the opportunity there, was if I needed to know why my IVF cycles were not working, I needed to allow my embryo to grow up until the 5th day. Even if they did not make it to the 5th day, from that day on, I was like, that was the only plan of action, because I was not going to go through all that again. And then when it gets to the 5th day, it has 100 plus cells, and then they could test it so that I could know the health of the embryo, but I would also know the grading, because when it makes it the 5th day, the embryologist gives you a grading. And all this information about my embryos was very helpful in helping me learn about what my body was reproducing, what the health of my embryos. It opened up a whole world of opportunities. But I was only able to do that because I looked at that failure as an opportunity for growth. And so, very powerful. Worked really in my life. That was really the best decision I ever made. And I thank God for Oprah's quote on failure being an opportunity for growth, because it's what helped me power through and honestly eventually lead to success. In fact, there was even a time, guys, when we're now going through our cycles of IVF, we're now going to transfer in the embryo that we had tested that was normal. And I remember, again, we went through failed transfers, and I ended up not even being devastated anymore. I was just like, let this fail, because as long as the embryo is fine, we are only going to transfer it when we're 100% sure that we have dotted our I's and we have crossed our T's. So when I went through the failed transfers, I was using the information to guide me on maximizing my chances. So I stopped even doing the boo-hoo-ha, and I was just like, okay, thank God we didn't put it back in with that not working. And then, you know what I mean. So I think that the law of attraction is really important. Your mindset, your attitude, really, really matters when you go through this journey. And so, folks, in a nutshell, that is my experience with the law of attraction in IVF. So what do you guys think? I mean, I took a risk with this video because it's a topic that, people do talk about, having a positive mindset, going to acupuncture to get your body right. And, we do talk about it subtly, but there wasn't really a conversation about that. So what has worked for you? If you had success through IVF, please share your opinion. What worked for you in terms of positivity and mindset? law of attraction wise. And if it has caused you to think differently, if there's any tip shared in this video that has caused you to think differently about your own experience, what is it? Share it so that we can motivate each other in this community. Again, thank you for watching, guys. Until my next video. Bye.